Hello and welcome to Science Never Stops. I'm your host, Joseph Vitt, and today's topic is astronaut food. Space food is part of a balanced, nutrient-rich diet, and astronauts like us eat 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now there are 8 different types of space food, and I wanted to walk through with you and show examples of each one. And the first happens to be the most common of all of them, and that happens to be the rehydratable foods. So as you can notice from the packaging, this is special NASA packaging that they use to keep the food fresh, and it's rehydratable because the water that was once in these scrambled eggs was fully removed, and you are left with a much lighter weight, all water removed product. Now, notice here the special seal at the top is where those astronauts would connect to and fill with water, either hot or cold, and the directions are listed here on the label. And once they apply that water to this food product, it will then rehydrate. They peel open the packaging and then enjoy their breakfast of scrambled eggs. The same applies for their drinks. This drink happens to be lemon lime drink, but there's a wide variety of drinks. They can have tea with lemon, they can have coffee, they can have grapefruit juice, all dehydrated in a, still again labeled with directions, the amount of water to add, whether hot or cold water. And they also have specialty straw attachment that they can attach in and drink their liquid refreshment. So that is the rehydratable. Again, this is the most common form of space food that astronauts eat while in space. The next is Thermo Stabilized, and we're all familiar with that with canned food. Canned food like this canned tuna, or this astronaut piece of food here, and it is Canadian bacon and applesauce. So, thermostabilized, safe, secure inside of this can. Other products include things like the peel-off top fruits and applesauce and other puddings. Chocolate pudding can be part of a thermostabilized meal option. The next type of food is intermediate moisture. This happens to be an astronaut packet. It's all in Russian, as you can see there, and this happens to be sort of trail mix or a bag of various intermediate moisture dried fruit, bananas, apricots, raisins. So dried fruits, not only dried fruits but dried meats like beef jerky is also a different form of intermediate moisture foods that astronauts would eat. Now, natural form, we're the most familiar with. Things like tortillas. Astronauts eat a lot of tortillas, spreading peanut butter or cream cheese on the surface of these and then rolling them up and eating them. Sometimes you see the videos on NASA YouTube channels where you see the astronauts tossing them around once they've made them and eating them. Astronauts play with their food quite often. It's part of the astronaut food experience. Other things like individually wrapped candies, candy bars, that's in a natural form. They don't have to alter those candies, such as these candy-coated chocolates, are another very popular snack that astronauts have while in their space mission. And other natural form happens to be like nuts, just taken out of their shell and served, and they can munch on these for a high-protein snack. Irradiated foods are sort of meat-based foods, ready meals. Military uses these MREs. This one happens to be an astronaut meal with lasagna with meat sauce. So things with turkey and meat sauce type meals, they serve them in these and warm them up. This one happens to be tofu with hoisin sauce. So these two are representations of irradiated food products that they can eat while in outer space. The next category is frozen, so that one's sort of straightforward. That's your things like ice cream or things that remain or need to be in a state of frozen during the time. Those are very limited items because the space for keeping frozen things for a length of time is limited on board, especially the space station or deep space missions. But on occasion they do get the nice sweet treat of ice cream. Next we have fresh, very common. So we have here an apple, which is a very common means of fresh foods for the astronauts that are brought up. Fresh foods they have to eat very quickly because they will spoil. Astronauts have no problem with having the fresh food eaten first. That's usually the things that are packaged on top when there are deliveries to the International Space Station. And if you've read the book or seen the movie The Martian, the potato is another deep space natural fresh form of food for the main character. So these two are very common in our home kitchens as well. And then we have refrigerated forms. Like I happen to have my yogurt for my breakfast. That with like cream cheese or sour cream that they may have. Refrigerated items, again, refrigerated items are in less supply because they need to have sort of storage, major storage and coolant for them. But this is another type astronaut option. Now when I'm eating my meals, I like to season them a little bit, especially with salt and pepper. So if something seems a little bland or it needs a little spice, you can always add salt and pepper with the salt and pepper shakers. But when you have salt and pepper, you have the sort of, it gets everywhere. And when you're in outer space, in orbit, you have it floating about and you don't want that to get in your eyes or in the computer equipment. So they have to go to another option. Instead of salt and pepper shakers, they have salt and pepper dispensers. So this one happens to be a salt dispenser. So it's sort of salt that has been dissolved in water. They would do the same for pepper. And you would just open the top. Notice it's attached so the lid won't fly away. And then on your food you can just go squirt, squirt, and then you'll have some salt flavoring on your meal. And with the water, it helps it cling to that meal so it still won't float off into space. So I showed you and gave you a tour of those type things, and sort of talking a little bit, other thing, astronauts not only need to be fed, they need to be hydrated. Hydration is a very important part. So I want to reach over here. I have some astronaut water that I want to take a sip of, and oh no, sorry NASA, I prefer my water filtered. Oh, so I'll put that one over here, and that's better. So important part of living and working in space is filtering the water. So astronaut waste is filtered to clean, drinkable water with the process from the machinery called the Environmental Life Support System. Environmental Control Life Support System on board the International Space Station is a vital piece of technology that allows the astronauts to have fresh drinking water, fresh oxygen to breathe, and it's a very good tool to have for not only on the International Space Station, but for deep space exploration as well. So with that, go into your kitchen and sort of discover from this list and these examples that I've given, what are some things that match the food in your pantry, that match the food that you've been eating on your table at home, so that you too can be a home astronaut. Again, take care, and remember, science never stops.